G'day YouTube. Warbles on a lot here. Surveying the fruits of 2 days. Picking and carrying and carting the stones. I don't know for certain, but I think we're looking at 2 cubic meters. All in all. Sort of a horizontal dry stone wall. Which I figured might be, and it turned out to be the case, is a lot less work than digging down onto the high side of where you want the pad to be and then shifting the dirt and building a rough retainer wall of the stones that come out of the dirt, which is what I did the previous 2 times. I've come up with ways of building pads flat enough and level enough upon which to emplace one of these inflatable buoy wall tanks, which will, if they're not placed on a flat bit of ground, run away downhill, taking the water along with them. Those of you who are paying attention to my channel will notice that the new buoy wall tank is now holding 6,500 litres, as is the old buoy wall tank, which did not leak. This is because this morning at 8 o'clock old mate turned up with his water tanker. So I can now tell you that 4,500 litres of water costs $110 to have delivered 15 kilometres out of town, which is $24 per 1,000 litres or per tonne. If old mate was going to show up at say 4 or 5 o'clock this afternoon, and by that stage I would have shoveled maybe another cubic metre of dirt onto the top of the stones, and I would have baled the 300 litres or so of water which landed in the repaired bag resultant from Friday night's 10 millimetres of rain following the repair, out of the bag, and used it with which to water the soil into the rock pad before adding more soil and then packing it down and watering it some more and placing a polytarp down on top of the soil and stone rammed earth rock reinforced pad before placing the empty bag on it. So if old mate had showed up at sundown on Father's Day instead of at Sparrow Fart on Father's Day, then instead of taking 4,500 litres of water off him for $110, I could have taken 6,000 litres off him for $130, which is only $21.40 per tonne, because he had a 6-tonne truckload, and that would mean that this would now be over there, and it would have a 13 centimetre deep layer of water inside it, and it would be a place to put spare water anytime this pair fills up. And here's a funny comment. It's difficult to find a good spot to try and catch it on the camera, but I find it difficult to manage to correctly locate these pools on the pad. That one down there, one of its faults was hailstone induced leaks in its northwestern and northern face, which were caused by the pool having been physically located approximately 30 centimetres or so too close to this fence, and therefore it's at a funny angle with a strange dangle. This pool turns out to be elliptical. I'm not sure whether you can see it, but what wrinkles there are on the bottom of the bag indicate that I could not have stretched it any further in an east-west orientation, but it's longer north-south than it is east-west. So yeah, the allegedly circular buoy wall, which has spent so much time vacuum wrapped, squeezed together to fit inside the box, that what emerges is an ellipsoidal buoy wall tank. Maybe one day it will slowly change shape and become round under the pressure of the water, but in the meantime I thought you might enjoy seeing the veritable Warbles Onlot Stone Age solution. Because it seems to me that in 3 days you can achieve what would otherwise take at least a week. Right, so that's 50 litres, and that's how far it goes on first application. The second 50 litres, and the theory is that where you got to fill volume, rocks that you can pick up off the ground for nothing are going to be cheaper than any kind of soil or sand or gravel or aggregate that you have to pay to buy and buy fuel to cart to get it here. And you'd have to do something to contain sand or gravel or aggregate anyway. So the easiest thing to do is pack the rocks in and then let the soil go in between the rocks, and the soil will transfer the load to the rocks, and the rocks provide the compressing strength necessary to have 6 tonnes of water sitting in a plastic bag flat on the ground. At least that's the theory. The big trick being to level the tops of the rocks before you start spreading the topsoil. And when it looks like you've got it level, or when you can apply a watering can to get the topsoil to go right down in there and fill up all the cavities between the rocks. I have no idea whether this is considered an original trick. It's entirely possible that one is in reinventing the wheel, but nobody told me how to do this. I funked it all up on my own. And here it is, with about 330, 350 litres of soil added. It's only been trodden in at the moment, and I'd say it probably needs another couple of 100 litres. But it's definitely getting there. And so see, I'm not even faking this. It may not be perfectly flat, but there's not enough slope there to upset a bag of water. In fact, there's a bit of a depression in the centre, which might even anchor the bloody thing. So, 2 full buoy walls and 1 pad pretty much ready to receive. And I maintain that if I hadn't spent the whole morning receiving water and sort of recovering from the sudden fluster, and considering that I've just about got that thing ready now, and I didn't start till about 11:30 today, I could have had the pad finished and the bag emplaced on the pad ready to receive the 1,500 litres, which wouldn't fit in these two. And now, before it gets dark, I get to repair the fence, which old mate truck driver didn't back into, but while he was doing his multi-point turn to get back out of here, he hooked his water spray bar on. So at least he didn't puncture the bag. And that's the story of Australian Stone Circle. Warbles on a lot to YouTube. Ciao. One is not quite as silly as one looks. Good thing too. Works as protective coloration.